So we recently had a soil compaction test done at the property, and I didn't get a lot of video because if you're aware of the current political climate in Southern California, some of the guys didn't want to be on camera, which I totally understand, which didn't occur to me until after I started recording. So I'm not going to show them on camera. So now you've got me stuck here trying to explain a very technical process that I do not understand. But I will by the end of this video, and so will you. So our former house was on a raised foundation, and there was about a 3-foot crawl space under the house, which left a big divot. And then not only that, but we also had what was romantically called a California basement, which was basically a closet-sized room. And we had a trap door in the kitchen, and you would access this California basement by going down through the trap door, and that's where our furnace was, that's where our water heater was. I don't know what the people 100 years ago were thinking. That's a terrible place to put a water heater. And it always kind of freaked me out because if anyone knew that existed, it would have been so easy to break into our house. All you had to do was crawl through the crawl space and up through this little closet room, and you had your pickings of what you wanted from our house. And so I am not sad to see that go. And it turned out it was a great parenting tool because we could just show the kids. We said, this is where the disobedient children spend the night. And amazingly, our kids turned out fantastic. Hey, I'm just kidding. These are jokes, people. Come on. We didn't do that. Not more than once. So, technology. Hurrah! We're getting a tankless water heater. So if you can figure out a way to get into our house through the tankless water heater, you deserve everything you can grab. So the new house is going to have a slab foundation, and we're going to have to bring in a bunch of dirt to fill in the hole that currently exists. So the issue is if you just bring in dirt and you don't check the load-bearing capacity of that dirt, we could have a major headache on our hands in a couple years with the house sinking. And I can't imagine going through what we've gone through and then 2 years later have this beautiful house sink down 2 feet into the ground. Oh, no. We're not going to do that. So this soil compaction test is very important and well worth the money for sure. So not only is this California code, it's also biblical. I am not going to be the man who foolishly builds his house on sand. Nay. But this is where my analogy breaks down because I'm also the piggy who built his house out of sticks. And if you know the story, the big bad wolf comes along and blows down the house of sticks. And he doesn't blow down the house of brick. But the piggies didn't live in Southern California, and the piggies didn't have earthquakes. So, okay, I'm not sure where this story is going, but just trust me, we're doing the right thing. Bottom line, building a house out of bricks in Southern California is a terrible idea. So, anyway, we had a crew come out and take soil samples, and then what they do is they take those soil samples back to a lab where much smarter people than I will then do tests to make sure if the current dirt is dense enough, and if it's not, then that will affect how much dirt they bring in and what kind of dirt, all that. Luckily, I'm not in charge of that. And then once the grading happens and they bring in the dirt, a soil engineer will also come out and be on hand as they are loading the dirt in, doing testing as they're bringing the dirt in to make sure that everything is hunky-dory. So what's next? I guess we're going to await the lab tests back on the dirt, but we probably can't start grading. We won't start grading and filling in the house-sized hole until we actually have a contractor signed on. So we are close. We're talking to 3 or 4 or 5 right now, and I would think that by latest October is when we will be having boots on the ground, shovels in the ground, and the sound of busy workers. So I think we're in a good place. I am getting a little impatient. I'm actually very proud of how patient I have been up to this point. If you know me, it's like I'm like a new man. But come October, I might just revert back to old Kevin. So anyways, things are looking good, and we are ready for the next step for sure.